I used to compete in CrossFit, and I'd show up to these competitions thinking I was ready. Like, I'd done all the work, I put in the hours, I hit the lifts, I drilled the movements. Physically, I was there. Mentally, I thought I was there. But then I'd walk into the venue and see all these other athletes, also the top performers from their gyms. And suddenly my head wasn't in the game anymore. I'd get intimidated, I'd lose focus, I couldn't bring myself back. And looking back, I realized I had zero tools for this. No practice, no strategy, nothing. Just me trying to will my way through it. And honestly, that was probably the difference between finishing fourth and actually winning. Today, I'm talking with Rubina Chadha, who teaches the stuff I wish someone had taught me back then. She's a mindfulness educator and trauma informed coach, and she helps high performers train their nervous systems the same way we train our bodies, with actual reps, actual practice. Because you can be physically ready for anything, but if your inner game isn't trained, you're leaving so much on the table. We're talking about how to stay grounded when the pressure's on, how to catch yourself when old survival patterns start running the show, and why being present takes reps too. But before we get to chatting, every episode kicks off with our listener question in a segment called Hey Coach. So, what would you ask if you had a business coach in your back pocket? Submit your question to Leslie at thefitnessofbusiness.com. Hey Coach, I run a business and have 2 kids. My schedule is insane, and I'm always in problem solving mode. People keep telling me to be more present, but honestly, that phrase means nothing to me. Like, what does that actually look like when I've got 12 things happening at once? Give me something concrete I can actually do, not just a concept to feel bad about not achieving. Rubina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, Leslie. I'm excited to have this talk.
I am excited too. And the first question I'm going to ask you is usually something that I kind of tend to ask a little bit later down the road in a conversation, but I want to know how you got to be doing what you're doing and why the work is so important to you.
I was just hearing you talk about other people and how everyone faces the same thing. And really, I came to this through my own journey of facing all of that and realizing that presence wasn't something like we thought, oh, we should just arrive. It's a gift from above. It really was something that I had to learn
Yeah.
and that it can be taught. And
Mm.
I think that is having that realization, that moment of realization is huge for anyone at any point. But yeah, for me, it was definitely, working in the fast paced corporate world. For me, it was in entertainment industry doing design and feeling really burned out and kind of like purposeless, right? And we all do things, and the whole reason we do it is to find that purpose. Yes, we want the financial side of it. Yes, we want all the parts of it. But when you come to that position of like, there's no purpose in me doing this, that's a real like, you know, coming to the moment. It's really talking to like yourself, like, what are you doing here? What is this about? And is it making you happy? So that was my experience.
Hmm.
And I started with creativity because that was my background. I was trained formally as a photographer, and my career was more than just a tool of something I did out there. But for me, it was really like a passion. And I think a lot of people can relate to that,
Yeah.
And just through the camera, through the lens, I found there was like a doorway and back into aligning my nervous system and
Hmm.
not just feeling like we're out there doing the hustle. We all are doing the hustle. And yes, we need
Yeah.
to pay our bills, but how we do it, like, how can we? And so I think that was like the moment that I realized that, I need to slow down and I need to dissect it in a way to study what is it that brings me to that purpose, to that passion.
Yeah. So, how do you take all of that knowledge and your own experience and apply it to your work now?
I have my business Inner Design, and basically for me, I provide workshops and trainings for creatives. Even if you feel like I'm not a creative person, there's some part of everyone that has creative energy and needs access to it. And so bringing that along with mindfulness, stress relief, protocol and techniques was really important to me. And so that's what I provide for others in professional development, in different agencies, one on one, whatever it is, right? Taking that little moment. Sometimes I was thinking recently, we were talking about going on a retreat. Like it's great when you go on a retreat, you feel refreshed and everything, and you come back to your same life and you're like, wait, what am I doing here? So that was kind of the missing piece where I was just like, well, what is it that we can do while we're in the hectic life without or before or even instead of running out there to have a retreat or vacation because it's not always accessible to you. But what is the thing that we have access to all the time? And it is that internal mindfulness. It is breath work because we're breathing all the time, right? It is having that peace and doing something that you can go through a creative experience and expression and like get that little bit of a break so that you can come back to the grind if that's where you're at or whatever it
Yeah.
is that's in front of you.
Yeah, we'll come back to the grind, but with, like, a slightly elevated foundation of, you know, levels of tolerance or patience or kindness to yourself or, whatever the missing piece was that, can help you have a little bit more of a sustainable approach to things.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button or getting a
Yeah.
refresh and just being able to do that instantaneously, not like I have to escape to do that or I need an hour to myself. Like, how can I get into that? How can I tap into that so that it's something I carry with me all the time?
Yeah. So to our listener who says, I am so busy, I'm, constantly putting out fires. I have to tend to 12 things at once. And oh, I have kids and, I need to be more present. Like, what are the first couple of things that you might do or a conversation you might have with someone in that position?
It's about awareness, first of all. And is there an opportunity for a pause? There's always, you may not have a full moment to take a complete reset, but there's always a chance to pause.
Mhm.
And it can be right in our tracks. We're walking and just like, oh, here I am.
Yeah.
Hi, here's me and my life. And, that recognition takes awareness. I always say it's like practice. We watch sports and we just think, oh yeah, they go out there on the field and they're making goals or whatever it might be. Um, they don't just wake up that morning and say, today I'm going to just get on the field and I'm going to win this first place for my team. It's taken a lot of practice to get there. It takes discipline and routine. And we sometimes think of discipline as punishment.
Mhm. Right.
You must do this thing, right? No, it's the discipline of that, embodied practice. And to them, they are carrying something that they're passionate about, that they're, you know, hopefully good at or skilled at. But even if you're not that good at it, not that skilled at it, I think that practice and putting those kind of, routines into place can make anybody good enough, right? They say that like that consistency, sometimes it's more important than talent. And so just thinking of it that way, what can I consistently do? What do I have access to? And it keeps changing. And so kind of being, I just would say that being aware of that presence that's within everyone that you
Yeah.
carry with you. And I feel like the easiest access point is the breath because it's literally walking around. We're walking around with it under our nose. And
Yeah.
so if I can just be like, oh, I'm really just like holding my breath, right?
Yeah.
It's not, it's not giving me the energy I need for this challenge in front of me. And what can I do? Can I just take a deep breath in? Can I just
Yes.
take a long exhale and just drop whatever is burdening me, either out there in reality or even like just in my perceived, mindset? Can I
Yeah.
just let it go for a moment? Can I just pause and be like, oh, here's life. Here's what here's what I'm
Yeah.
doing this for. Get a little reframe.
Yeah. Yeah, I reference this probably more than I should on this show, but, my daughter maybe will grow up and resent me for bringing this up so much, but we've been doing a program with her. She's about to turn 5, so she's young, and, it's for kids who have, really intense emotions and, are very intelligent, but maybe emotionally can be a little bit more challenging, but as you're talking about this, it reminds me of this one practice that we do with her where it's referred to as her inner lifeguard. And her inner lifeguard, is always thinking that there's a shark coming, like everything is a threat and everything has to go into fight or flight mode. And being able to kind of recognize when she's getting a little bit nervous or anxious and say, let's talk to your inner lifeguard. Like, is this something that's actually scary or do you just, and it's like, I love the fact that we can have these analogous conversations between my 4-year-old and grown adults and understand that we all face the same types of challenges and we get to decide how we react to things.
It's so true, and I think it's so fabulous that, kids have access to that nowadays, right? It's not like the generation where they're like, "Kids are to be seen and not heard," that kind of a thing.
Right.
It's we're really evolving as people and humanity, even though sometimes it feels like we're taking some back steps. I'm optimistic, like, maybe we gotta, like, do the back step and then kinda do the erase and reset.
Yes,
But
let's go with that. I'd like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. It's lived experience, right? So sometimes it's talking about, for me, I was working in toxic environments. It's
Mhm.
not so dramatic, but the same thing, like with your daughter, it's like this dramatic feeling of, oh my gosh, the sharks are coming out there. This is wired into us. This is in our nervous system. It's literally keeping us alive and safe. It's there for a reason. But sometimes that toxic level kind of comes
Mhm.
in. And we don't really even understand that, like, our mind and our bodies filled with toxins. We walk around. Depends on what we ate, what we've been doing, what we're exposed to in the environment, and that toxic side is not this dramatic thing, but it's simply like we're not maybe using our full lung capacity, and so
Right.
toxins are building in your body. Guess where you're gonna see that? In your emotions, in your mentality, your mindset's gonna start to get it's gonna turn towards the worst. You know how it feels, like,
Yeah.
we all wanna drink a Coke and eat a bag of Cheetos, but at the end of it, you're like, oh, what did I just do to myself?" It comes
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
right? And so, what does that feel like in your body? There's tightness or urgency or, control that feeling of loss of control or losing even something simple like losing softness. So, here's your innocent 5-year-old and she's just swimming around and then she's like, "Ah, shark." Right? I mean, like, it really gave me that visual, and we actually do this because our nervous system is, like I said, wired to be like this. It's there to keep us safe. There
Yep.
was a time we all were cave people, and the saber-toothed tiger might be sitting right outside the cave, and so we had to activate our system and
Mhm.
run, right? So that meant, like, we're not doing rest and digest. We're not like, "Hey, I gotta take a potty break. Let me just the saber-tooth is gonna eat us." So we have to just realize now we're living in a different society and the saber tooth is not outside the cave. It might just be somebody honked at us in traffic or it's the boss. It's yelling about something because they're dysregulated and we get thrown off, right?
Mhm.
So kind of accessing that moment that you notice like, oh, I'm absorbing dynamics around me, becoming impatient. Maybe I'm trying to perform. And at some point where maybe, not being with ourself or self-abandoning in subtle ways to cope with these are stressors that are out there.
Yeah.
And, just I think, it's such an important thing. We all need to know, like, hey, we have an inner lifeguard. It's keeping us alive. It may not
Yeah.
be doing we may be coping by scrolling social media or whatever other, like, vices that can get to be addictive or whatever it might be, but that's keeping us alive from the stress. And
Yeah.
so when we were like, "Okay, now I'm not in stress. I'm in my bed. I got the lights turned down. I can take a few deep breaths and just transition myself into a good night's sleep." And
Yeah.
just taking that as a decision, it's a choice, is available to all of us all the time.
Yeah. No, I love that because I think like obviously with the lifeguard and the saber-toothed tiger and the shark, it's like it is a very obvious analogy. Like, yes, if there's a shark there, it is danger and you can, there it's pretty black and white. But as you're describing, having worked in a toxic environment that was a little bit more subtle, maybe not a little bit more subtle, but was more subtle and absorbing other people's energies and and I guess being able to build the skills to recognize how that builds up in your body over time because it may not be one big dramatic flipping over of the table. Although if you I don't know, that could work too. Um, but, you know, I guess, like, you already named some of them, but what are some of the other, like, subtle cues that someone may not even realize that they are holding on to, tension or stress or feelings that are not serving them? What are some of the sort of main things that you look for?
I think a huge one is confusing productivity with worth, that my value is based off of, my peak performance kind of a thing, or that that is huge because
Mhm.
in our society, we really reward outcome, and that's what we think we get paid on, right?
Mhm.
And this structure doesn't really work. The higher you are as a performer, as, whatever field you're in, the more you realize, like, this hyper independence or over functioning, these are not going to take you for the long haul. If you're just trying to hit the peak once and then fade away,
That's
maybe.
right.
But, it takes discipline, and it takes routine, and it takes that pattern disruption. You have to really notice that there are some subtle patterns that come up in each person. Some are basic and overall, and some are very unique to yourself. And so it's important for you as a listener to go, yeah, this is something that happens for me,
Mhm.
all day long. And then at the end of the day, this is what I'm doing. Instead of judging and getting into that intense place in that mental space for yourself, just kind of like looking into dropping into your body. We walk around thinking we're this, five senses that are mostly up here in our head. Our thoughts are up there in the head. All these brain waves are happening. And so we actually have this whole system that's part of our body. If we can drop into it, it actually is going to tell us the truth. It doesn't lie for sure.
Yeah.
So just untangling these patterns without shame, without
Mhm.
judging, because that's what our mind does. It's one of the features of our mind. It's supposed to be judging. It's keeping us safe, right? Good, bad, black, white,
Mhm.
right, wrong. All of those things are how we walk through our life and navigate this way. Nope, not that way. Um, so just getting kind to yourself, I would say, is
Mhm.
one of the most simple things.
Yeah.
And, you know, tension is not discipline. Holding on to the tension, like rush, 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 there's that, the comedian, Zarna Garg, she talks about like yoga. Like if you're rushing to yoga, you're doing it wrong, Like I love it. She's so funny. And it's like, yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. We want to have that feeling when we're like on the mat, we're having yoga and breath work and meditation. And we roll out the mat and do it there. And then we get up, flick the mat into our the back trunk, and then we just go and rage and
Yeah.
on the freeway or whatever it is.
Right.
This is not sustainable. So
Yeah.
getting to a place where you can find that middle ground, finding the balance and discipline without tension. Just okay, chip away at a little at a time, untangle some of those things that you have. You've built patterns without shame.
Yep.
You don't have to remove ambition. You can regulate your system and hold on to those ideals also.
Yeah. Yes. And like give yourself the permission to acknowledge that this is not the way this society is telling you to be, but that is okay. Like,
Yeah.
especially with what we see publicly with people talking about their, crazy long work hours and this, sense of martyrdom. Like, well, but I worked 17
Yes.
hours this day, and it's like, okay, that's great. You're probably exhausted for one,
Yeah.
and two, like, where did that get you?
Yeah. Yeah. Just helping, get your own system to feel safe enough to choose differently. Okay,
Mhm.
maybe if I have some time, if I have a break to myself to rejuvenate and get my energy levels, the outcome is I will be more productive. And so valuing that is something that's not here culturally. We're not there yet. I think we're getting close. I
Yeah.
think that we're evolving as a society, and I think eventually we'll get there.
Yes. I I like I like to hope so. Through conversations like this, that I hope happen more and more frequently with more and more people. I agree, just to normalize it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so who is your typical client? I'll start there. Who is your typical client?
I get the burned out founder. I started it myself, I'm doing it all myself, and now I'm struggling to come up for air, and, I can relate, that was me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that, we are mirrors and we bring in what we carry, and so it's like, yes, yes, I'm that person, the perfectionist that can do it all, and then I kinda just, like, I'll say a recovering perfectionist, but yeah, you kinda gotta put it aside and say, at what like you said, at what cost and for what reason, and was it really better, beneficial, or, like, what did I get from it, right? Where
Mhm.
did I go? And it's not about delegating, it's about, like, just looking at the values of, "Okay, what is it that I wanna come to? What's the purpose of this?" What's the meaning behind it? And is this absolutely the best way to do it? We
Mhm.
want to have that meaningful life. So, can I do that in a way that I don't have to get burned out? And it's not about no, it's not about the antithesis to productivity. I'm not saying
Right.
that. It's like be productive. You got to do it, but like give yourself some fuel to run
Yeah.
off of.
Yes. Yeah. Um, because our society and the reality of, you know, we have a service to sell that I know I personally have a very difficult time quantifying, invest in working with me and I will guarantee this ROI from a financial standpoint is something I very much struggle with. So I'm curious how you, answer that question or if that's something that comes up as, how can I uh, communicate my value or the value in doing this?
For me, it's really the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you really just got to do it and try it.
Mhm.
And providing that value because it's about becoming aligned
Yeah.
back to yourself. I'm not reinventing anything here. I'm just pointing you back
Mhm.
to all the things that you're telling me about you, right? And saying, hey, these are the things you have access to. You've always had access. You little got bumped around maybe and are a little off track, or you feel exhausted from running the track. And what can you do to get yourself back into that alignment? And it's such a felt experience. Um, it's just this is the heart of the practice. It's coming back. And I don't define alignment conceptually. It's having more space in your chest and that bringing clearer decisions or
Mm.
less urgency or just trusting in the timing, not as woo-woo concepts or whatever they're out there, because it's not conceptual. It's really absolutely practical. And these are science backed practices that show the results. So I think
Yeah.
once somebody tries it, they have the experience,
Mhm.
they're not like, "Oh, yeah, this means life is all easy and great." No, it means that your body is no longer fighting itself. Your mind is not running the show. You're in full alignment with yourself
Yeah.
and it's embodied. I mean, that's what we all want to be. We want to have practices that are embodied. We want to have businesses that are embodied. We want to have lifestyles that are embodied. And I
Yeah.
think that, like even as maybe your listeners are hearing this right now, maybe I can just invite them to notice their breath or their posture as they hear my voice. I know we're like on task, but like I'm not leading a meditation, but just a moment to say, hey, look at you, you're breathing. Can you feel it like all the way to your belly? Or was your belly tightened up and tensed? And like right there, just that little bit of awareness
Yeah.
is a felt experience. And
Yeah.
so going on that journey is just having access to more of that regularly.
Yeah. Yeah. And how has your approach to your work with clients changed over time? Like did it always start as kind of a more um I don't know, personalized process, but in order to be able to accommodate more people or scale or whatever, did you have to kind of formalize it a little bit more?
I've formalized it not because of the need to scale, but I've formalized it because wanted it to be scientific.
Hmm.
And so it wasn't just like, okay, I became a certified yoga facilitator or breathwork facilitator or in meditation or whatever it is. Those, yes, all of those parts are the background for me and were the catalyst to move into this. But it really, to me, was important to have these ancient practices meet modern science.
Hmm.
And so, for example, it's like breath regulation that's paired with neuroscience, and somatic awareness is understanding that nervous system safety and becoming tangible. And so I see inner design as a bridge. It's this ancient wisdom meets modern research, meets lived reality, not abstract, practical, felt, right? And to me, that was important. So I've gone through the journeys and writing these down and studying them and understanding them so that it can be formulated, so that people can come in wherever they are and say, "Oh, yes, this felt different. This
Hmm.
was different. Yes, I went to yoga, but this is not that." Or, "Yes, I do meditate. This is not that." This is like a completely different starting point for me to look at how to slow down without
Hmm.
losing my productivity that I'm
Hmm.
attached to, tracking my body before making decisions or
Yeah.
noticing breath, just really grounding their life
Yeah.
that can in a way that can be applicable to something right away.
Yeah. Because you are primarily working with the burned out, overcommitted, kind of overstimulated founder. Is there like a common area where you find resistance from them?
Yes. That's a great question. Yes. Almost 100% always, I'll say this.
Ooh.
You know, the more high achieving we are, the more successful we want mindset. Oh, I want to think myself my way through these problems. I'm so used to problem solving. I'm just going to think my way through it. And this is not a mindset thing. This is
Hmm.
absolutely an embodied experience, a process that you're going to go yourself through. But because we're so focused on like that outcome driven, like I said, right? We're like always thinking output and outcome. And so, like, that is really more of that mental philosophical thing. Like, it's hard to communicate it in some ways, but just like,
Mhm.
let's stop, let's sit down, let's pause, let's drop into what we need to do right now without having to leave work, without having to say, oh, now I'm driving to the yoga studio. Now I'm going to roll up my mat and then I'm going to do it. Right. Having that and bridging that back in without the mind. So
Mhm.
bypassing the mind is one
Hmm.
of the biggest solutions. It's like, all right, let's just see how can the mind is going to constantly go. It's like the hamster in the wheel, and we don't want to stop it because
Yeah.
that's what the function is of it. But how can we access other things so that we can feel that relief of what's happening in the mind all the time? Feel like a little bit of space, right?
Mhm.
Physiologically. And that is a huge thing. Everyone comes to me and they're like, thinking mindset, mindset. I listen to Tony Robbins and this, that. Nothing against them. Great. I love mindset. Yes, you need mindset. You need to have good mindset because that helps you to kind of cope. But then it goes back to the coping thing. Like when
Mm.
we're done coping, we haven't built a system for ourselves to live
Mhm.
by. And that's the huge piece.
Yeah.
Mindset, or even just saying only, okay, let me just meditate. It's great. I love to meditate. The first hour of my day is dedicated to yoga, meditation, breath work, all of that stuff. But when I get up and I leave that space, what am I taking with me? And how prepared am I to get through everything?
Yeah.
That can't be mindset. I can't just think my way through. Like they
Mhm.
say that, right? Like you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it or that's in the same mindset. And so that was a huge clue for me. Like, oh, we can't solve this from our mind. We can't
Yeah.
get into mindset and deal with the stress because stress is in our mind,
Yeah.
right? So we got to go somewhere else. We got to
Yeah.
get into this body. We got to understand whatever's living in there besides stresses, right? So for me, it was a huge important part was being trauma informed and understanding like how, not to be dramatic again, but like how traumas settle into our body, into our
Mhm.
system. And it's like layer after layer of dust and dirt. And we got to clean that. We got to wipe that down and make it, fresh for us.
Yeah. Quick pause. I was that kid in school whose notes everyone wanted to borrow before the test. Color coded, organized, the whole deal. I'm still doing it, but now for entrepreneurship instead of AP Bio. My Substack is basically me sharing my notes with you. The podcast gives you the big ideas. My Substack shows you how to implement them. Step by step guides, templates, and real stories from the trenches. Subscribe for free at leslieboyce.substack.com. That's LESLIEBOYCE. And let's take this from theory into practice. Because knowing you should hit the gym and actually getting there to do the reps are two very different things. As you're describing it, it's like so much about this is trusting in the process that if you commit to, you know, implementing some of these habits and protocols, or maybe that's a little too technical of a word for it, but that the mindset will follow.
Yes. I would even say, just to challenge you a little bit, like,
Sure.
don't trust it. Don't trust it. Yeah,
Mm,
Leslie wants to trust it, but I would say don't even trust it. Just try it. Like,
mm,
actually practice it. Actually,
mhm.
go in there and test it out. Do your own. I've done the scientific, research. Do your own scientific analysis. Try it out as
Yeah.
like a hypothesis, and then tell me, oh,
Yeah.
this doesn't work. I'm okay. You can tell me, yeah, that doesn't work, and I'll be like, oh, let's take a look at it together, and
Yeah.
I'll say I guarantee it will work. You
Okay.
just have to get there, get through it, and,
Yeah.
move the mind aside so that you can get into it, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it maybe the element of trust in this particular case definitely comes in from the fact that you are coming from a place of having experienced it and lived through it yourself. And I think that's actually not something to take lightly, because I think in this world of like anyone can be a coach and anyone can claim to be an expert in anything. I remember having several conversations with people over the last couple of years, like, talk about what's my differentiator. And I had to have a few people point out to me that, like, you are someone who has actually started a brick and mortar business and run one. And now you're coaching other people in how to run their businesses. And I'm like, Isn't that just, shouldn't everyone have that background?" But they don't. So I think that element of trust is just strengthened when you are working with someone who says, "Yeah, I practice what I preach."
Yes, that's absolutely it, like, practice it, and then people then you're exuding it, right? Everyone looks at you and they're like, "Oh, Leslie, you've had this level of success. I want to hear it from you." And that's what I have people come to me and they're like, "How do you look like that? How are you peaceful?" And like, "I see you going through these challenges and stresses. Like, how do you still keep yourself on track?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, let me tell you, I have a formula or I have a secret."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that part of it, yes, absolutely. That part
Yeah.
of it.
So, one of the things that you have said is that you are both deeply intuitive and also highly structured. Is that the word you used? Yes, highly structured, which is a pretty interesting pairing and probably not something there are a lot of people who would, claim to be both. So, can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say probably it goes back to the similar thing of like the structure is what I decided to lean into or trust, right? For me, it was like, okay, this is going to work. There's research, there's backing on it, and I'm going to just lean into it and I'm just going to keep going with it. And that part of it is kind of like not my crutch, but in a way, it's what I hold on to on those times that it doesn't feel like, you know, I mean, the world and life is always up and down. So sometimes when I'm like hitting that down, just like all of you, anyone, I am like, "Okay, let me just go back to what the structure, the
Mhm.
consistency, the routines, the discipline, all of that stuff, let me pull that back up because that gives me the ground," right?
Yeah.
Like, that we wanna have the foundation, and that's my ground that I can stand on
Yeah.
safely and firmly, and I know it's not gonna fall out from underneath me. And then as, like, that balance, the beauty of this work is that that feeds this intuitive, creative, life-affirming, energetic part of, life is what it is,
Yeah.
and so having that brings access to this other side. And so things start to open up. You just realize, oh, I'm in the right place at the right time. Like,
Mhm.
did I know that? Did I consciously know that? No, because I wasn't relying on my mind to think my way through to solve my problems. I just kind of
Mhm.
like dropped in, built into that presence instead of the performance, the outcome of it. Just keep on going back into that presence and it started to fuel me, right? That was my peak performance cheat code, right? Because it started to fuel and then it just kept coming that way. And so people are like, "Are you lucky?" Yes and no, because luck takes practice. And I think
Mhm.
when we look at people who are out there, I'm saying Tony Robbins or whatever, Mind Valley, all of that stuff, we look at them like, oh, yeah, you hear a little bit of the story. Oh, that person, they did this and they got lucky.
Mm.
I guarantee you they not hustled, but they put effort
Yeah.
and discipline towards it and routine and practice and all of these things, the structure, so
Yeah.
that they could stand on that foundation and it could
Mhm.
keep flourishing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so many good points in there, but I think, in making all the fitness analogies, like, without the foundation, without the strong core, you could go lift a bunch of heavy weights. Is it a good idea? Probably not. Is it sustainable? Definitely not. Is it the proper and safe way to do things? Definitely not. Um, but I think that because, especially as founders, we get really, I mean, I can find myself almost energized by hustle mode until all of a sudden, I burn out. And then I'm like, oops, I did not recognize what was happening. Um, that we're in hustle mode and we forget about the importance of it's okay to stop where you are, rebuild the cracks in the foundation and then get back to it.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good point. Rebuild things because I also think of it as like refuel, right? Like
Mhm.
we don't expect to eat, a power bar or something in the morning for breakfast and then go all the way till dinner. At some point, you're just like, "Oh my god, that didn't hold me over," and so I kind of think of it like that, right? And everything is energy. I always talk about that. Everything is energy, and energy is very scientific. It's not a woo-woo concept. Energy is like what makes everything go around. We're
Yeah.
fueled by the energy of the sun, we notice that, right? There's, like, seasonally affected disorders that happen because there's not enough sun or something, not enough vitamin D. So all of these aspects that are at the foundation, I'll just call them energy, that fuels our life, that fuels the systems and runs the whole planet and multiple planets, the universe and everything, right?
Yeah.
We have to understand them. And
Mhm.
so understanding them is different from mindset of them. Understanding them to not just conceptualize it, understand it, and then like say, oh, okay, now this is something that's there so fundamental. I'm going to embody that. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna take that. So now rebuilding the foundation when there's cracks or refueling when you're exhausted and burned out. And yeah, sometimes hustling works for everyone. Sometimes I have days and I'm like, I keep going. I feel like the Energizer Bunny. And then at the end of the day or the next day, I'm like, oh boy, I really paid for that. And now I got to have a
Yeah.
recovery for a day. And that's okay. We can't expect life to be a consistent or we want it to be a plateau.
Mhm.
But I often say this, in the emergency room, you look at, right, the monitors and they're going up and down, and that
Yeah.
is the sign of life. As soon as you got a flat line, you're like, there's no life. So we should understand that not as a concept, but that is the sign and symbol of life, that it's constantly fluctuating and it's going all over the place. And yes, you want to regulate it, but there's times where, that regulation is not always in everyone's access,
Yeah.
but you can choose to regulate it. That's the
Yes.
refilling the cracks in your foundation.
Yeah.
Choosing to say, "Oh, I need to do this right now for myself." Without guilt, without shame, without judgment, without all of these things that come from our mind and from outside expectations, but just like, yeah, this is how I stay alive.
Mm,
This is
right.
what, I do. This is what I need for myself. And I think as a mom, like you and I are both moms of my kid is older, grown up now, just has flown the nest. I'm so excited for him in this next stage. And all along, it's been a journey of learning how to ask for and say, hey, mom needs to also kind of just get this a few minutes to myself. I
Yep.
just need this little break. It's without feeling guilty, but
Mm,
communicating that to people because you're right. As women and running businesses and homes and families, um, it's not looked at in a way that it's acceptable, or we don't view ourselves as
mhm.
it should be acceptable. We all want to be superwoman, and we
Yeah.
are in our own ways.
Yep.
But it takes some fuel, right? Even superwoman would need some refueling. So that part
Yes.
of it of saying, "This fills me," and it's yeah, not just self-care and, those kind of things, but what really fuels you.
Yeah. Not just a week at the Four Seasons
Not
that would
just
not, but that wouldn't hurt
we
either.
wouldn't turn that down,
We would not
definitely.
turn that down. My friend and I kind of had an ongoing joke during COVID that we said, "If we get COVID at the same time, we're gonna check into the Four Seasons for our
There you
quarantine."
go.
It never happened. Unfortunately, it never happened,
Oh,
but
no, fortunately, I'm glad you
fortunately,
didn't.
no, we got COVID just at different times, so we couldn't
Oh,
make good
no.
on our plan. But it was a good one. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think I know personally, and I have to assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that people don't address these challenges until they are in that burnout mode. And it would be so lovely and so idealistic if everybody said, well, a year or 5 years or 10 years before I could even get to that point, I'm going to seek out, you know, Rubina's help. But that's just not reality. So, I guess if people are listening right now and they're like, I don't know, maybe I'm there, maybe I'm not there." Like, what are some things if they're not gonna work with you that they can, put into practice, pausing, recognizing how their body feels, maybe just like, uh, some app habits throughout the day as they're working too?
absolutely. It's those things like you said. I think if we take a good assessment of ourselves and just be like, "Hey, what's always worked for me? What's always been great?" Like, for me, it was always creative expression. So I'll carry around a notepad and pen and just doodle or whatever it
Mm.
is to get that energy out of me. So what is it that works for you when you look back? And I think this may sound cheesy, but at some point we all were 5-year-old
Mhm.
and we were at most connected to ourselves as children. So even if I bring your daughter up as an example, she's really connected to the fact that stress is there and it's there instantly and there's a reaction that you're seeing from the outside. And that's her way of coping with it, of like, oh my gosh, right? This I gotta deal with this. So what did we do to deal with things when we were kids? And just that simple question, ask yourself, what did I do? I used to sing. I just like start singing Jingle Bells. It's the middle of July on a swing set or whatever. And I just loved it. Maybe it gave my brain a
Mhm.
moment of, like, pausing whatever was going on that was
Yeah.
overwhelming to the 5-year-old me. Gosh, I can only wish for those overwhelming moments
I
again.
know. Then someone stole my
Right?
crayon. Yeah.
Please give me my 5-year-old problems. But, I think we can all ask ourselves that question. What did 5-year-old me really want when things were
Mhm.
rough? When the emotions were not able to be regulated? And the answer has to do with how fast we moved through it.
Hmm.
Whereas adults, we've lost that. We can't move through, like, we can't get over it. We're spilling the tea about something. We're gossiping, like, oh my God, I just can't get it off my mind. I'm also, fall prey to that as well. Like, just this stressful thing, I just can't stop thinking about it. I can't get it off my head. I'm venting to my friend. I'm talking to a therapist, and I just, need to get over it, right? You're like, get over it, but how? We're never told how to get over it.
Yeah.
Like, take a deep breath, sit
Yeah.
on the swing. What was the swing experience for? I was moving my body. There
Mhm.
was a regulation in that. I was singing. There's breath work in singing. So,
Yeah.
what if I just like sat in a rocking chair for 5 minutes, took some deep breaths? Could I access 5-year-old Rabina
Mhm.
of finding that peace? Do I have to leave everything? Do I have to drop my ambitions? No.
Yeah.
No, you just have to find these are the little clues you have in yourself. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's like guiding each person individually. It's not going to be always the same thing. You're going to tell me it's something different for you, Leslie. And so let's look at what that is and let's bring little bits of that through our day, through our routines, maybe on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
That part of self care actually does turn around rewards for us. And we're like, wow, this really felt good, and
Yeah.
now I can access the feeling by just doing something simple. I don't have to
Mm,
pay for an expensive massage or go get my nails done. I can just access that feeling that those things give me simply, like, at my own table for 5 minutes, right?
yeah. I love that. It's like taking away the intimidation of, especially with the type of people that you work with, that it needs to be so highly regimented and I need to fit it into my schedule, and like, where does this, um return to me in my marketing plan? And it's like, no,
Yeah.
it does not have to be so, robust or well thought out. I love that, I mean, I very much resonate with the singing analogy, and because I grew up singing and doing musical theater, and that I can't even tell you the number of times I have said, I should join a choir again. I should join a choir again. And it's like, why am I not? I don't know the answer to that, probably because other things just seem to be more important, but I think it's just a great reminder, like, no, that's important for different reasons, but just as important.
Yeah, I think sometimes we actually feel like those things are menial, like, they're just
Mhm.
so that's so small, like, unimportant. That's, "Oh, that's Rubina, that's the child issue." Like, actually, I loved singing, I guess, up until a certain point, but then I never sang again, so I must have
Mm.
been told a message, like, so sometimes we
Mhm.
have these experiences that actually build on micro traumas, and, like, why did I never sing again? Why was I not in musical theater? And then my son, when he was growing up, happened to, and I had forgotten, and here I am, as adult, as a mom, as a parent, and then thinking my son would be like a visual artist like I was, or that, his other parent, like just looking at it that logically way and
Yeah.
forgetting. And then as soon as I think he turned 9 and he was like, I really love singing. I want to join this choir. All my friends are doing this. And I was like, where did this singer come from? I had blocked it out of my memory completely,
Wow.
and I had to journey through it myself and be like,
Mm,
"Oh, remember you used to love singing? Oh, you used to be in these little shows in 1st grade, like, what happened?" No, it doesn't really
mm,
matter, but it was healing for me to take
mm,
this chance and look at it. So there might be that. It might be looking like that's where the trauma-informed piece is really important to me. Is like looking a little below because there might be a gift inside, these treasures of sometimes they're packaged in something painful, not even
mm,
overly dramatically painful, but somehow you can uncover it and be like, "Oh, this was that thing. This was that part of me." Yes, I'm so scared to sing now, but I will sing in the shower, in my car, and just move through it and be like, "It's okay. No one's hearing my voice. Is it horrible or judging it?" Or I'm not judging it based off of whatever the messaging was for me. I'm just doing it as a process, and to me, I
mhm.
think life is that. It's all about being in the process instead of in the outcome. I'm not trying to get on stage. I'm definitely not joining a choir. I would support you all the way
Thank
100%.
you.
You join the choir. I don't have any of that training, but I will still go through the passionate expression of
Mhm,
being in the process of it.
mhm. Yeah. I I'm curious, like, what do you personally find is an area of challenge where you struggle to implement some of your own work?
I will say it this way, like, for me, I am a recovering perfectionist.
Mhm.
I always say this
I
on
claim
shows,
I'm not yeah, I'm not recovering.
I'm not
I'm
recovering, I'm
not
here
it,
to
and
help you, I'm
thank
right
you.
there with you, my dear, but, and so that part of it will creep up, and that outcome driven and all I have to reel myself back in as well, and so it's just keeping tabs on it constantly, holding my, finger to the pulse and being like, "Oh, yeah, this feels like this again. This is familiar." So just also looking and questioning my own thoughts. I'm like, "Am
Mm,
I being outcome driven on this? And let me take a step back," right? Like you're asking about like funnels and this and that, like sales and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a part of me that's like, "Go, go, go, go get it." And, because I was trained that way in my industry, and now I'm just like, "Yes, go get it, and
Mhm.
also go get your breath and
Mm.
take it from this authentic place within." I
Yeah.
do talk myself through it. I definitely do. It does happen often. I'm not gonna deny it.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's like, I think people would rather hear that you or me or anybody that they're working with is real and has real challenges and, you know, is relatable, I guess is really where I'm going with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Um, Talk a little bit more about your art. I feel like that is a piece that we have not really uh, delved into, and it seems to be a really big part of who you are.
Yes, absolutely. So to me, creativity is, again, it's about the expression and not just a one-off thing. I worked for almost a decade as a digital artist. Still teach. I'm still, an educator with digital art. So I teach artists and I teach them mindfulness first because I feel like that creativity comes from that felt experience of getting calm and quiet and accessing that part that wants to create something. We all are creatives. We may not all identify as artists, but we all are creatives because we're creating the life that we have. It's designed by us. Whether we do it knowingly or unknowingly is the only question. Currently, I am exploring AI with art. I know it's very controversial to say that,
Yes,
but
but it is
I
the reality.
it is the reality. I've always been in digital and I started as a photographer, went into digital photography. People at that time used to tell me, digital is gonna die, film is forever. And I was like, no way. There's no way. And so I feel like I'm at the same crossroads now,
Mhm.
almost like 20 years later of like people like, oh,
Mhm.
AI is this and that. I'm like, no, you guys, let's look at what it is. And I think that AI is another tool brush. And as far as the controversy of like we're ripping off things and people won't take that lightly, but I'll say this, from the beginning of time, like even if we look at the great masters, Michelangelo, like everybody was copying him. He
Mm.
was the first and the one, and we
Yeah.
should say he's the only, and nobody should ever do it again. That's what we're saying with AI. No, 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 we should never go through that.
Mm.
Um, Usually on a lot of my podcasts, I have my background, which is all AI and all my AI art. I've won an award for an AI art piece that I created for Advertising Photographers of America. I'm sorry, American APA. I'll say it this way, for APA, I submitted artwork, to a contest with APA. I won 1st place. I didn't even expect it,
Amazing.
but it was something that took me a lot of effort. People think, "Oh, you just go in and you pop in a prompt or it just punches out something," and that's not the case. It
Mhm.
takes a lot of effort. I've been as a digital artist for like 2 decades, and so I know what I want to create, and it's not just even about iterations through the AI, it's bringing it in different elements, rebuilding it, restructuring what this art is going to look like, and it's given me a tool that I can basically utilize to put my conceptual idea
Mhm.
into a reflection, an actual art piece. And I
Yeah.
think it gives access to everyone. And I think that's a huge thing. Like when I look at students creating art, think, let's look at why we would use AI. Is it because we may not have access to something? That's something as simple as like, I may not be able to take a great picture of the moon with the camera equipment I have with my iPhone. And AI can create exactly the moon I'm looking for. I want it to be
Yeah.
purple in the highlights and deep shadows. I want it to be this angle, and I can do that like this. And so
Yeah.
why are people freaking out? Because now some student can do that in their house for essentially 3 minutes and free, and it used to cost all this money. So what we're actually, I think, freaking out about, if I can say that, is that we're freaking out that everyone can create art and everyone should create art.
Mm.
And it's about bringing those feelings that we
Mhm.
have and expressing them outward, right? As a singer, as whatever it is. It's n Art has never been about commodity. It's not about
Mhm.
what sells and who's making the money, but we've made it that way, and so
Yeah.
in our capitalist society, people are freaking out, and so if you're just creating it just for yourself because
Yeah.
it brings you joy and pleasure and it's beauty, and beauty to me is mindfulness. It
Mm.
is part of a fundamental need that everybody has. It's not aesthetic, like, "Oh, I decorated my house this way," but real beauty of, like, gazing into a flower and seeing all the petals that are there by nature and that fascination of, like, "Wow, this is just here for just for the moment for me to experience beauty through,
Yeah.
experience myself viewing that."
Mhm.
That is important, and so everybody should go out there and make art, and if AI is a brush and a tool that we all have access to and they can do it for reasonable and really quickly, go for it.
Yeah.
I'm there to support you all you artists out there that maybe are recovering, scared of this, controversy of I think
Mhm.
there's no reason to have that fear.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And it's like, look, it's here. It is an incredible tool. We can either embrace it or we can resist it and be left behind. But how can you use it to just help improve what you're already doing? It's not going to be your brain. It's not going to be your eyes and your ears. Like it can't replace who you are as a person. It's like people who, worry that coaching is going to be obsolete because anyone can just ask a question to AI. Well, they can, but there's no connection, there's no warmth, there's no empathy. Um, there is, but it's on a whole different level. So I think that, like, just accept that that technology is advancing and embrace it.
That's such a good point that you bring that up, like, coaching is a different thing than just getting answers to your questions. Now, use the AI. Great. Get your answers and then use the coaching for connection. That's exactly what I would say with AI with art. It's not
Mm,
like a separate lane, but it's the same as creative inquiry. So you can have presence through this different medium. If something is doing some work for you, tool, let's say it's just writing your creative writing, your essay or whatever it might be, now you get to choose what am I doing with my time while that thing is doing the task.
yeah.
And that's a huge thing. That's where I feel like AI consciousness come on board because now we don't have to be the doers. We can be the beings that we are. It's that whole point of being rather than doing is who we are as human beings,
Mhm,
right? And so I think that the AI mirrors the same question you're asking and you're talking about with coaching and
mhm,
what happens, we can ask, when we collaborate with intelligence rather than trying to control it? How do we stay human while engaging technology? Now, the human aspect is what I'm looking for in coaching. I'm not coming to just get my answers that I can get from the machine. I'm coming because I like the way you think and
mhm.
want to hear what you feel in your messages. And that's what I'm doing here now. Right. So
Exactly.
that's exactly it with art. That's going to be it, I think, across the board with AI and all technology. And I think we see that in education.
Yeah.
Well, let's open the floodgates. Let everyone be educated, and what they need from coming to school is different from just excuse me, just reading the books or
That's
just
right.
spitting out the formulas or whatever it is. They
Yep.
need education to be a place where we collaborate with minds and we understand problem solving together or
Yep.
whatever it might be. And I think that will be the trajectory of our future. I'm hopeful for it.
Yes, I was just gonna say, I think so, and I hope so, and so maybe if we just put that out into the podcastiverse, then it will happen.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Oh my goodness, well, somehow our time is up, and that went really, really, really quickly. And so I would love for you to talk about how people can work with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for this time. It's been
Sure,
really fabulous
yeah,
chatting about all these topics.
yes.
And people can find me online. I'm at theinnerdesign.com. On social media, on Instagram, I'm the official Rubina. And everywhere you can just find me in Rubina Chadha. And I will respond to you personally. I don't use AI bots for my social media or online. If you reach out, it's me. And yeah, I would love to help people. And I will have workshop coming up as well, to teach my inner design method. And a book will come out shortly, the next, halfway
Cool.
through the year, maybe.
Very
So,
cool.
yes, I'd love to share all of these things. They're gonna be out there for people to pick up their journey however they like.
Awesome. And I will link all of that in the show's notes so people know where they can find you. But it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. And just, I really appreciate the reminder of the importance of getting in touch with your body and how that can just benefit every layer and not just in the moment. And I think I personally, I'm going to take that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now I start all my episodes with my Hey Coach question, and I end my episodes by asking my guest, since we talk about how entrepreneurship is basically like a workout, what is one business strength or habit you wish you had developed earlier in your career?
Just like fitness and entrepreneurship, I think it's more than the physical reps. I think that capacity to return to presence, if I had that access and realized that that connection was gonna be so closely tied in, I would think that it's gonna help to recover from stress and to help
Yeah.
choose clarity over compulsion or confusion.
Yeah.
And I think that's the building block, the foundation to make everything that you're doing sustainable.
Yeah. Agreed. Awesome, Rubina. Thank you so much. And thank you to the listeners. And if you like today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, share it with a friend, submit your question to Leslie at thefitnessofbusiness.com. And we'll see you next time.